Hey guys, Masterkizz back with some Borderlands 2 for you today, of course, and this is just going to be a fairly brief video. I usually say that and it ends up being a very long video. I think I have a problem where I can't make short videos, but a lot of people have recently requested like an updated Siren build that I use, and for anyone that's watched me play in a live stream or anyone that's actually played in a game with me, they realize that I chop and change quite a lot. But the cool thing now that there is so many skill points available, there are a lot more diverse builds you can do, and you can actually do a lot more specific builds, but the majority of them are all based upon the class mod that you use, and it's all based upon your own play style. So I'll show you the build that I like to use at the moment, but again, there's so many different ways you can play this game. If you play multiplayer, you might actually want to spec more into a support character, whereas you would put a lot more points into the harmony tree, and you would use something like maybe a nurse class mod. Otherwise, if you wanted to do damage, you go into something like Cataclysm, and you also put a couple in motion here. But what I'll do is, like I said, I'll show you the build I've been using recently, show you the build I've been using in Digistruct Peak. That's what most people wanted to see, and I'll explain a little bit about it. So as far as weapons go, you all know what weapons I've got, and the class mod that we're going to base this around is one of the new ones, which is a legendary cat. It was included in the latest UVHM upgrade pack number 2, and they drop from chubby enemies. So you guys probably saw the video I did showing you that you could get them. And yeah, this is what I'm doing at the moment. This is what I'm basing my build off, the legendary cat, purely because it seems to actually give you a fairly solid damage boost, and it gives you some cool points into some skills that really help you to get the damage out there. So that's what we're basing it off. Now, as far as what we got here, so I'll try and explain a bit about the Siren skills as well, how they work, what they do, and I'll even show you a fight at the end of Pyrocaustic Pete, of course. And I did it earlier on a live stream where I think I had about 15 points or 10 points left over that I didn't spend, because the Siren really has some useless skills, let's just say that, when it comes to fighting raid bosses. But of course, to start off any build, you're going to need your phase lock. Let's go over to the left here. So we're in the motion tree. You see that it's got the blue circle around it, or the teal circle, teal square, whatever. That means that it's actually got the additional points from the legendary cat class mod. So if you put 1 in it, you've got 6 in there already. So what I like to do is max it out, which will give you, if I can get over there properly, stop moving. It'll give you an extra 30% gun damage, and it'll also give you a plus 40% bullet speed, which is great for weapons like the Sandhawk, where they have slow moving projectiles. So you can actually decrease the time it takes to leave the barrel of the gun and hit the target, which is quite good for, like I said, for weapons that have slow moving projectiles. It makes them move a bit quicker. As far as what else I put in here, generally what I've been using recently is suspension. I max suspension out to 5. So what that does is it increases the duration of your phase lock. So it adds plus 2.5 seconds to your phase lock. And what that means is, if you're mobbing, or if you phase lock an enemy up and you hold him up in the air, that'll keep him in the air for an extra 2.5 seconds. So very handy skill, and it's really good in Digistruct Peak because there are so many smaller enemies. And this skill also comes into play with another one in the harmony tree. I'll talk about that in a second. In this tree, there are a few options you can, if you wanted to. You can go all the way down into subsequence here, and the subsequence skill, when it's maxed out, will actually, when you phase lock an enemy and then kill them, the phase lock will then seek out somebody else and phase lock them. But it all is based upon the time from suspension. So if you have your first enemy up for a couple of seconds and then your phase lock goes out and finds another one, it's only going to lock him up for not as long as an original phase lock would, but it still can come in handy, and especially when you combine it with Converge. So definitely use Converge if you want to build where you are mobbing and you are fighting a lot of smaller enemies. What Converge does is, when you hit a target with your phase lock, it has a radius around it that will actually draw enemies towards the initial phase lock target. Incredibly powerful for the Siren, and like I said, in Digistruct, it's an absolute godsend to be able to hit one enemy, draw them all into one big bunch. And I mean, if you sham fleet, you can just devastate, just lay waste. Even if you've got a fairly powerful setup like a bee and a Sandhawk, you can just focus on the central mass there and just lay waste to everything there. But that's about all I do in this tree. The only thing that I might come back to is fleet, and sometimes I actually put fleet on when I use the Breakneck Banshee class mod and also use the Rough Rider shield so I can run really fast. Generally, I only use that when I'm farming. But anyway, we may come back to this. We'll have a look. Next tree's Harmony. So, of course, we're going to be putting skills into Mind's Eye. So, Mind's Eye, we bump that up. Now, what that gives us is... Get over there. Yeah, we'll just keep it there, all right? It gives us a plus 50% critical hit damage, so that means that the damage modifier is increased by another plus 50% for your critical hits, and it also gives you plus 60% in your melee damage there as well, which for a Siren really doesn't do much. There are a few builds, very, very specific builds that you can actually use melee with a Siren, but it's not something I get into. This one here, Wreck, definitely something you want to do. This is incredible, and especially with the new class mod, the Legendary Cat. What it does is when you have an enemy up in the air, and when you actually have it combined with this, you get an extra 2.5 seconds, of course. When you have an enemy up in the air, you gain a plus 100% fire rate. So anything you're shooting, it will shoot 100% faster. It means that it's almost made for weapons like the Bitch. It's made for weapons like the Sandhawk. It's made for anything that has a fairly decent fire rate. The Butchers, the interfaces. When a phase lock target is up in the air, completely helpless, get a plus 100% fire rate boost, and you also get a plus 60% damage boost again. So that is a huge skill to have with the Siren, and because you are relying on phase lock so much when you are mobbing in places like Digistruct, huge skill to have that one there. There are other skills here that you can actually use if you wanted to get yourself a little bit of health. But these, again, these are all optional skills. What I'm trying to go through at the start is skills that I think are essential for most builds with the Siren. These are all ones we'll come back to in a second. Jump over here. So you can see that as far as essential skills go, we've only spent a couple of points. There's not much here that I would consider essential unless you were doing a specific build. Like I said earlier, if you were doing a nursing or a support build, you would start looking at more into these. But we get into the last tree, which is Cataclysm here, and this is when you start getting your damage. So with this, I always go all the way into Foresight, purely because it gives you that plus 40% magazine size, and it also gives you a plus 50% reload speed, which is fantastic. Couple that with something like a really nice relic to give you even more ammunition for an SMG or a launcher, and you can actually carry around a lot more ammunition than you would actually imagine. You can carry around a lot, so I always pump into that, and because it's actually already got the 5 in there from the Legendary Cat, we also get a full 10 points in there, which is good. I always spec 5 into Flicker. What that does is it gives you a plus 30% more, or you're 30% more likely to cause elemental effects with guns. So the Siren is a character that is really, really handy when she's using things that have like fire, corrosive, electrical, and if you can use a relic like a Bone of the Ancients or something like that, that will actually give you a boosted elemental multiplier as well, you can really do some serious damage. And continuing on from Flicker is Immolate here. So what we do is we spec into Immolate. You can leave it out if you are mobbing, but it definitely does help in most cases, and it will help you to get you up, because what it does is when you pump your points into it, it'll add plus 50% damage as fire damage to all of your shots when you're in fight for your life. So a lot of people probably realize that that's how the Immolate trick works with the Siren. When you use the, I think they call it the Deal with the Devil trick, or the Deal with the Devil build, where if you use a Banshee class mod that'll actually give you plus 6 into Immolate, you can actually do crazy damage with a fire Norfleet, even just a fire Sandhawk if you excuse me, if you spec correctly. But yeah, these, in my opinion, definitely essentials. Reaper is another one that is massive, and because the Cat mod gives you points into Reaper, this Legendary Cat mod is one of the most incredible mods I think you can get for the Siren at the moment. To get a further plus 80% gun damage, and you remember we've already got the damages from the earlier skills as well, and to get a further plus 80% gun damage is absolutely massive. So with Reaper, any enemy that has plus 50 or 50% or more of their health, you will do 80% more damage until they drop below 50%. So this means that for builds like the Immolate trick that you do with a Siren, where you rely on instant damage, really huge damage initially, that really, really helps. And it can also mean that it could be the difference between life and death. If you actually go in and start a fight with a fairly tough enemy, you can actually knock him down 80% faster until he gets below that 50%, and then you can sort of switch up your tactics and chip away at him. But now this is when we get into sort of the territory where the Siren has a lot of skills that for raid bosses and things like that, they're completely useless. You look at these skills where you've got Helios there, you've got Backdraft, Cloud Kill, you've got Chain Reaction, Blight Phoenix. I mean, all of these, honestly, fairly poor skills to use at the best of times, unless you have an incredibly specific build that relied on one of those skills with maybe a kinetic reflection build or something like that, or you had a skill where you were using a setup where you would actually use, I think it's that one there. You can actually use Backdraft, I believe, with a certain setup, so you can actually heal yourself when your shields are down. So, but again, very specific, not really handy for anything else. What I generally do here is I just put one in each one because I want to get down here. Ruin, for anyone playing UVHM, 100% necessary. What Ruin does is it gives the Siren an ability to constantly slag enemies by using her phase lock, and it's incredibly handy. And of course, this one also connects to this one. So what that means is if you phase lock a central target and you have Ruin along with Converge, the Ruin will pull all the enemies towards the central target, slag all of those enemies as well, which means you now have every enemy within the affected radius is slagged. One of them is held up and weak, and you are also getting the bonus damage from wreck and everything else that you're getting when you actually got the phase lock active and the enemy locked up. So definitely. So that's what I'm going to call my base build. That's skills that I generally use in every single build that I do, and you'll see that we've got 20 left, 20 skills left at the moment. So if you look at them now, it really comes down to your preference as to where you want to spend those. You might want to try and get down this tree. You might want to spec a little bit into healing. You might want to, I don't know, put more points here if you, for whatever reason, you wanted to do that. But that is what I'm going to say is a base build. The extra 20 points, spend them wherever you want. That's all I can say. So as far as, if you look at this now, I don't know if I'd be able to do it with 20. Accelerate. So all that one does is that gives you better shield capacity and shield recharge delay. The only thing that is really handy in that skill in UVHM is the shield recharge delay. Shield capacity doesn't mean anything because pretty much every single enemy on the battlefield will drop your shield with one bullet. So shield capacity doesn't mean anything. The shield recharge delay, very handy with the B shield because it means that if you do take a few shots, it will start recharging much faster. But again, there's nothing in here that would really give me an advantage against a raid boss. Next one, Sweet Release, no good against raid boss. Restoration, Elated, Res, Recompense, doesn't really work that well unless you have a very specific build. Sustenance, Life Tap, Scorn. Scorn you can use if you want to do some crazy slagging, and if you are in a laggy game, you can do these massive Scorn explosions that I think Baru discovered. But again, nothing really in there that's going to help us with a fight against a raid boss. And again, this tree is pretty much well stocked as far as damage goes against a raid boss. So what we might try and do, we'll keep those 20 points there. I'm going to go with an Electric Sandy, Electric Sandhawk. We're going to put on a Electric Bone of the Ancients. And of course, what these do is see how this one gives you the plus 38% shock damage on this relic. What that couples with is this one here. Whoops. This one here, Flicker. So what that does is that gives you a 30% chance to do to more likely cause elemental effects with guns. So if you are causing the elemental effects and then you have a relic down here that's giving you plus 38% shock damage, it's all going to stack and it's all going to combine in some mystical, magical, mathematical way to really help you out and to help you do damage. So what we're going to do is we're going to slam on a B shield because I am a noob and I need to use the B. I've got a Stormfront there, of course the relic, and we've got the Flying Sandhawk. And the Flying Sandhawk is the flying variant of a Dahl SMG, means that the projectile speed's faster. And again, that comes back to accelerate, which is there. So that increases our bullet speed again. So if we're using the Flying Sandhawk and we're also using accelerate, it means we're getting much, much faster Sandhawk bullets. So absolute ramble there, but a few people requested just to talk about a Siren build. But like I said, that's a base tree. You've got 20 extra points, put them wherever you want, mess around with them. But yeah, for fighting raid bosses and stuff, a lot of the other skills that are available now, not really needed. And I'll demonstrate that by, I might have to buy some health. Buy some health. What we'll do is we'll go down and we'll see if we can actually fight Pete with 20 spare points there. So we're going to be using the Flying Sandhawk B, Legendary Cat, with a Bone of the Ancient. So we'll get down. Oh, I wanted to say, how good is that skin and head for Maya? That, I don't think I'm ever going to make another thumbnail with another picture ever again. That's the best setup in the game. That's the new Community Day skin. There is a trick out at the moment. I don't know if it's intentional, but I'll try and link it in the description. There's actually a way to farm the new Community Day heads and skins in the game, and it's incredibly easy. I'll link it in the description. I can't remember the original guy that discovered it. Damn, I'll link it. It's Ki11er Six's video, but he was actually pointed it out by somebody else, but I can't remember who it was. Sorry, you know who you are, you're a legend. Anyway, I'll put that in the description if you want to go and get those. And the Siren setup like that, best. I don't care what you say, I just bump the mic, but that's the best, alright? Anyway, this was, like I said, this was supposed to be a very short video. It's probably 4 or 5 weeks long already, but that's just how it works. I get talking, and I'm like, yeah, I can talk. I'll talk for a little while. What's that, 30 seconds? I look down, it's like 20 minutes. So yeah, like I said, this whole video was just talking about the Siren skills, what I'm using, and what's effective. So, and like I said, that's my base build I use, and these extra 20 points are points that are pretty much all left up to you. Spend them wherever you want to spend them. Spend them where you think they will help your play style, and that's something that it comes down to at the end of the day. It's your play style. So play the game how you are comfortable with it, and if you can find something in those extra 20 points there that can help you out, then more power to you, brother and sister. I know there's like, I think I've got about 7% female viewers out there. They're out there. They're out there. Alright, so let's see how we go. I guess old Pete here. So we actually did a live stream today, so a lot of people might have seen it already, but I think we did it with about 15 extra points. So I don't know if I'll be able to do it with 20, but I think I should be able to. Oh, come on, Pete. Put up a fight, brother. He is still one of the easiest bosses in the game to actually fight and farm. But again, I really like his design. It's more like a battle that you actually have to think about. It's not just mindless, like, dodge this is undodgeable. It's something that it feels a lot more like a very mechanical boss fight, in the way that if you just stick to the routine and jump at the right time, move at the right time, you can get it out of the way. And that's something that I wish they would focus more on. I mean, when you had games back in the day, I mean, I can say back in the day because I'm so old, but there's a lot of games back in the day we used to play when you'd have a boss fight in a game, and you'd have to work out his patterns, his strategies, and then the first maybe 10, 20 times you'd be like, this is impossible, this is ridiculous, and then eventually what would happen is you would find a pattern that if you could use your skill and dodge at the right time, what would happen was, I don't know, can we kill him? We'll see if we can without going to the thing. Yeah, what would happen is you would learn the patterns and you could use your skill eventually, and if you jumped at the right time, dodged at the right time, you could get the boss fight done. But with fights in this game, a lot of it just relies on you having crazy spec'd weaponry, and if you don't have exactly the right gear, you will just get massacred. But anyway, hopefully the build advice helps. Like I said, though, it all comes down to your personal preferences. I can't say this is the be-all, end-all strategy to actually use with a Siren, but again, if some people might see the video, see some of the skills and go, oh, I didn't understand how that worked, or oh, that's cool, I didn't know that that skill would combine with this, hopefully that'll help someone out. I got to make sure I don't miss any weapons, because that would be the #1 comment if I missed a weapon, would be, you missed this! You're an idiot! Sticky lobbed incendiary negative 00777. No, there's no pearls. No, there's no legendaries. We'll crack the chests to end the video, of course. But like I said, I hope that was a little bit of insight into the way I like to play the Siren. They are the core builds or the core skills that I think you should include in most builds with the Siren. Like I said, there are a lot of specific builds. You can probably find them on the Gearbox forums or the wikis, where they will explain different skill sets, where if you wanted to have a very specific role when you play the game, you would actually spec completely differently. But for me, a lot of people said, show me your skill trees, please do this, please do that, and I thought I'd actually make a little bit of a video and show you what I am rocking at the moment. Unfortunately, we got no legendaries, no nothing. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed that little insight into the way I like to play the Siren. Let me know in the comments if you've got any other advice, or any other strategies, any other builds. If people ask questions, try and help them out. Give them tips on things that you like to do with a Siren. And yeah, help each other out. And spend them 20 points wherever you want to spend them. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed, and until the next video, we'll see you later.